Hi folks, this is JC one more time. As some of you know, I've been taking some short stories from my own life. It's Jim's journal, where I jot down things that happened to me throughout my lifetime. Now, I'm up to about age 31 or 32 now, and I doubt if I'll ever finish it, but I like to keep writing in it. But I've read a couple of these stories, and some people have enjoyed them. And I have another here. Recently, when I was talking to my niece, the subject of Santa Claus came up, and I was surprised to hear that there was one young man, not from my niece, but one of my grandson, who believed in Santa Claus till he was about 12 years old or 13. And of course, that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have an incident that happened in my life many years ago that I'd like to read to you about Santa Claus, and it's not the happiest incident in the world, but I think it might be interesting to some of you. And so, without any further ado, I'll go ahead and read it. This happened to me when I lived in Modesto, California, over in the Little Okie district of Modesto, the airport district. I was about 7 years old, just getting ready to turn 8. As some of you know, I spent a lot of my time down on the river when I was a little kid on my own, and of course my mother worried about me and the rest of the family, but didn't make much difference whether they were or not. I still went to the river. That was where I liked to be. And so, anyhow, without further ado, I'll go into the story. And I named this story Expectations, and I'm going to read most of it, so if I don't look right at you, why, don't think anything about it. It's easier to read than it is to try to remember each little detail. And it goes, this is an incident which happened when I was about 7 years old. I still believed in Santa Claus. I just realized that he didn't know my poor Okie family very well, not nearly well enough to visit us with anything more than an occasional shirt or underwear. When I was young and growing up in the airport district, that's East Modesto, they call it Little Okie, I spent nearly all of my time at the Tuolumne River, which was about a quarter of a mile from my house. My mother worked every day to support my sisters and me, and although the task was placed on my older sisters to watch and care for me, I always managed to elude them and make my way down to the river. The river was my friend. I swam in the river, and I dug under the roots of big trees that lined the riverbank and made forts in the cave that I dug underneath the bank. Luckily, my special angel always watched over me so the caves didn't fall in on me and the water didn't drown me, and of course the river itself was my friend. A half a mile upstream, there was a moderate stand of trees. I called it the Little Jungle. Another quarter of a mile or so, there was a much larger forest that I called the Big Jungle. Wild fox grapevines climbed to the top of several of the trees in the Big Jungle, and they grew so thick on top that I could crawl along on them on my hands and knees if I was very careful, and I wouldn't fall through. At the bank of the river right there, someone had dumped pieces of concrete blocks around a pipe coming up out of the ground. It flowed water for the year around. I call it the artesian well. These places were as much home to me as was my own home. I spent as much time there as I did at home, more if I included my school time away from home. One day, a couple of weeks before Christmas, I was walking back from the river. I saw a man walking toward me. It was unusual to be at this particular place at this time of the day. I usually had the river to myself. As he got closer, I could see he was a bit on the pudgy side and almost roly-poly in stature, and he had a bit of a beard and a mustache. When he reached me, he spoke to me in a very friendly tone. He remarked about Christmas being almost upon us, and, as grown-ups often do, he asked me what Santa would bring me this year for Christmas. I told him I didn't think Santa would stop at our house, that he had too many other people to visit. He asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I didn't know what to say, since I knew Santa wouldn't bring much to my house. He persisted, though, and asked what I would like to have if I could have anything I wanted. I finally gave in, and I told him that if I could have anything in the world I wanted, I'd like to have a bicycle. He got a serious look on his face then, and he asked me my name. Well, I told him my name, and he grinned, and he kind of tugged at his beard slightly. A glint came into his eyes, and he told me that I would get the bike for Christmas, matter-of-factly, that he knew I had been a good boy. Then he said goodbye and left, and I went on home. I got home just at dark, and my sister lit into me as soon as I walked through the door. I realize now how worried about me my family was, but then a chewing out, even a whipping with an apricot limb, was just a common and very unimportant occurrence. I asked her what Santa Claus looked like before and after Christmas, and she told me he probably looked a lot like everyone else, just fatter. I told her I thought I had just seen him walking down by the river. She smiled and chucked me under my chin and said, "Maybe so." I never told anyone what Santa said to me, that I would get a bike for Christmas. I just waited and wished time would fly more swiftly and Christmas morning would hurry and get here. I thought about it all the time. The days seemed to drag by, but Christmas finally did get there. Our house was a small one-room shack, and my mom and my stepdad had put a large army tent alongside it as a bedroom for us kids. Christmas morning I was awake at the crack of dawn. No one else was up yet, and I sat outside at the table under an apricot tree on one of the peach crates that we used for chairs. Our house was a small... Finally the lights came on inside the house where Mom and Pop were sleeping. I listened to them rustle around inside for what seemed like an eternity. My sisters awoke and came outside and sat beside me. We had to wait for Mom to get things ready for us. Then the door opened and Mom told us to come in, that Santa Claus had been there. We went inside and there was a very small tree hanging with tinsel and popcorn stringers. Mother gave each of us a stocking with an apple and orange, a few Brazil nuts, pecans, and hazelnuts, and some hard Christmas candy in it. Then, after we settled down some, she handed each of us a gaily wrapped package. We opened our packages and showed off the clothing each of us got. I got a shirt and a couple of handkerchiefs. In turn, we each hugged Mother and thanked her for Santa's gifts to us. I looked around, but I already knew that there was no bicycle. I wanted to ask if maybe Santa could have been in an accident or something, but since we did get gifts, I knew that hadn't happened. I put my shirt and my hankies on the bed in the tent, and I went to the river, and I stayed until after dark that day, that Christmas day. I heard my mother calling me a time or two, but I had to decide for myself what had happened, so I didn't answer her. She knew by now that I would be all right and would come home when I felt like coming home. I fretted all day, and I wondered if I had been so bad that Santa had changed his mind after he checked on me. Maybe I shouldn't have told him my name. Maybe he found out I worried my mother too much by staying at the river too late. It was a tough call for me, but I knew that if there was indeed a real Santa Claus, it probably wasn't the man that I had talked to. I hated Santa anyway for a long time, more when I saw what other boys at school got from him, real toys and not just clothes. Before this last Christmas, things like this didn't bother me much. It was just the way it was, but now it was different. Then one day before my 8th year, I admitted that there wasn't really a Santa Claus, it was just a fairy tale, and Christmas lost much of its luster for me, which I must say has gone on until this day. I also learned this very wise saying: no one knows for sure who made it up, but I sincerely believe that it was me who first realized that on the 26th day of December of 1943, never expect too much and you'll never be too disappointed. Thank you very much.